So the next three presentations will be presented by Sonia Balgah and Alex Reis. Sonia is a senior business analyst at Canada Health InfoWay. Sonia is accountable for the development of the Pan-Canadian Patient Summary Specification, and her background is in nursing and as a certified business analyst professional. So Sonia will be presenting on the Pan-Canadian Patient Summary progress and then later on the 2026 Projectathon update. And last but not least, Alex Reis leads the team responsible for defining, developing, and delivering product specifications in alignment with Canada's Pan-Canadian Interoperability Roadmap. In this role, he drives the creation and continuous evolution of a collaborative framework that brings together jurisdictions, vendors, and InfoWay to advance national specifications, ensure alignment with international standards, and support the broad adoption across the country. Prior to joining InfoWay, Alex directed product strategy for an online educational platform where he focused on strengthening customer retention and expanding professional services. Alex began his career in healthcare at a global medical imaging company, where he led the product architecture for its flagship medical imaging display solutions. So with that, I will pass over to Sonia and Alex for the next three presentations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda. I'm going to start and I'll pass it to Sonia, if you don't mind. Tarek a little earlier mentioned the Pan-Canadian shared Pan-Canadian interoperability roadmap. So I will provide a quick overview of the roadmap before I get into some of the specific topics within my presentation. Like many other countries, Canada needed to develop a roadmap as a compass to guide the convergence of all 13 PTs to national standards. So we developed a roadmap to support strategic, federal, provincial, and territorial commitments in advancing health data interoperability and virtual care adoption in Canada. It articulated a path for modernizing the healthcare system through the premise of connected care to enable a healthier Canada. And in collaboration with our partners, we identified strategic objectives, priority initiatives, as well as foundational building blocks to drive interoperability. The endorsement of the roadmap by the Conference of Deputy Ministers marked a noteworthy milestone signifying Canada's readiness to digitize, link, standardize data, and transform digital health systems. Now, let's highlight some key objectives of the roadmap. So some of the main objective of the roadmap is really be patient-centric. It provides a patient-centric model for safe, secure access to and management of a patient's health information electronically from anywhere. It unlocks health information, so a connected care infrastructure improves providers' access to patient health information from various sources as the point of care to provide appropriate safe care and everything else. And also innovation. So we work across provinces, territories, and vendor community to innovate connected care for Canadians. So now let's describe the roadmap a little bit more. So the roadmap is divided into the phases that you see in front of you. It starts with strategic goals. So these are the common goals that all jurisdictions are aspiring to achieve over the next 5 years or the next 2 years, because the roadmap started in 2023. There are near-term initiatives, and these are the ones that we're focusing on right now. So these initiatives are to achieve our collective interoperability strategic goals. Four near-term initiatives have been identified to drive immediate progress and value. Now, new initiatives are always coming into place, and we fit them within the overall strategic goals that we have set out. Now, building blocks are a handful. As you can see here, there are about 12 building blocks. These are a handful of building blocks will be activated based on requirements. So as we develop the initiatives above, if we identify commonalities or common functionality that should be shared, we start developing these building blocks. Now, at the bottom is all the interoperability enablement services. These services are services Infra provides to assist jurisdictions in the adoption and rollout of the initiatives above. More information and a little bit more. Now, this is what we refer as the top-down and bottom-up approach, because I think both ends here have critical steps that need to be taken. Now let's dig a little bit deeper and go into. I'm not going into a lot of details here. It's just overview, but these are the types of services that we provide across the Canadian space to all jurisdictions. And so it starts with procurement, innovation, and support. So we support innovation of procurement processes to benefit jurisdictions and vendors alike. We provide resources, contracted resources that can work with the jurisdictions in collaboration, so they can work together. Assets and products. So we develop a lot of what we do. The main function of what we do within the connected care side of the organization, interoperability, is really the development of product specifications and all the supporting tools for collaboration on work products. We also provide subject matter expertise. So we provide resources of subject matter experts that can provide guidance and recommendations to jurisdictions around not only interoperability design, but technology standards, privacy, security, change management. We also work with we also provide vendor management and conformance. So we coordinate and lead Pan-Canadian approach to vendor management and interoperability specifications, conformance for input and alignment into procurement processes. So let's discuss how we work together in the Pan-Canadian space to drive all these pieces. So we start with product development. You can see we call this the elevator diagram. It shows that we start from the bottom, and the goal is always to keep moving to move up the ladder, up the elevator. But just because we hit the top of the building doesn't mean that we stop there. We may need to come back up and down depending on where we are to ensure that things are actually happening the way they're supposed to. So at the level one is the product development. It's when we work with the community, we work with provinces, territories, we work with vendors, we work with clinicians. Overall, we work with the industry to develop these product specifications. Here, InfoWay is the driver. InfoWay is the facilitator of those discussions. We bring people together to help us develop the specifications and ensure that the needs of the provinces and the industry and vendors are met through that development, through that process. Once we develop these specifications and we review them with the community, we move up the ladder. At this point, we work with the provinces and territories to drive the adoption of these specifications. And during this phase, the L2 phase, is when the provinces and territories are the drivers. They work with vendors, and InfoWay provides conformance services as well as consulting services to help along that journey. Once we've accomplished a level that the provinces and territories and the vendors are adopting these specifications, we move into this level 3, where now the provinces, territories, vendors are rolling out these products that are based on our specifications or the specifications that we develop together into the clinical and patient adoption. And in any of these phases, if we see that we need to continue the development of the specifications, or we need to add capabilities, or we need to make adjustments, we can always go back into that level 1 and start the process again. Now that I have reviewed the roadmap and how the roadmap initiatives, some of the services that we provide, and how we work across the Pan-Canadian space, let's discuss a little bit of our progress. So as I mentioned before, these are the 4 near-term initiatives that we're focusing on. Certainly, primary care data portability, patient summary, patient access to electronic health data, and e-referral consult. Now, in parallel to these initiatives, we have also launched a few other initiatives that are helping us drive these initiatives forward. So we identify that although these initiatives are progressing the way they're supposed to, the provinces, territories, and the vendors needed additional assistance to move them even faster. So we launched we've been working on 2 additional initiatives that are helping us drive these ones forward. Now I'm going to start with HALO. So HALO stands for Health Application Lightweight Protocol. It is a new framework that we've been developing. This is the second year that we're working through the development of this framework. And the idea that it standardizes how Smart on Fire, which is a fire technology, how these Smart on Fire applications or apps can be securely launched and they can access health data across jurisdictions, enabling applications to be built once and deployed consistently across Canada. The result of this framework is really vendors can integrate once and operate consistently across the pan-Canadian space. It reduces fragmentation. It lowers those integration costs because it is a standard that vendors will be implementing and PTs will be driving. The provinces and territories will be driving. And it accelerates safe, standards-based interoperability nationwide. Let's discuss what's HALO. So at a glance, HALO is composed of these 5 services. As you can see, one of them is an app catalog, and the app catalog is basically, if we think of your phone today, you have an app store. So it's the same idea, but it is this release, or what HALO allows it to do, is that this can be defined at the jurisdiction level. So whether it is British Columbia or Ontario, they define an app catalog, and in this app catalog, they list the applications that are available to be used within that jurisdiction. HALO provides additional guidance on identity management and authentication, as well as authorization token management. So basically the trust model. How are these point of care applications and smart applications sharing identity and how they're trusting each other? There are smart apps. So these are the applications that are launched out of the point of care application, such as a patient summary application. And they provide specialized capabilities. So capabilities that those EMRs or point of care applications do not have today. They enable a two-way data sharing. So data can be shared with it, and it can share data with the EMR. And is also able to access any of the data that's available within the EMR. Certainly data that the EMR allows the app to access, as well as any jurisdictional asset that can be accessed as well. It provides some supporting services in backend as well. So it facilitates fire and non-fire access to jurisdictional assets, and enables context event management and subscription. And certainly this is the point of care. It's what drives most of these different components. Okay. Now, what does HALO do? So HALO really, HALO doesn't define or try to define new standards or new specifications. HALO really tries to look at what's available out there and how can we reuse it, and whether or not we need to provide additional guidance for the Canadian jurisdictions, for the pan-Canadian space. So it combines these specifications into one specification. It builds on top of Smart on Fire, which is an existing available standard, by providing that Canadian consistency where variability exists today to enable seamless point of care interoperability. So this is where, maybe within the pan-Canadian space and how vendors and jurisdictions work together, we can provide guidance that's specific to that environment. It provides a deployable framework for vendors that are Smart on Fire ready, or in a bridge for those vendors that are still working towards being fire capable or enabled. And that bridge is something that we call SOFA, and it's a Smart on Fire accelerator. And as I mentioned in the slide before, it introduces the idea of an app catalog, which is a standardized model for discovery and launching jurisdictionally approved smart apps. Okay, now, how does HALO work? So HALO has, there are 2 differentiators within HALO. So HALO provides contextual launch with the smart app that is integrated into the point of care application, giving service providers access to the right tools at the right time. And it's seamless. It provides seamless integration with point of care applications. So, for example, the EMR, allowing physicians to use those digital tools without leaving their primary workflow. So, as an illustration, you can see here on the left-hand side in the laptop screen there, you can see left-hand side, there are a number of applications on the left-hand side. This is the applications that are available that were retrieved from the app catalog. And clicking on any of these applications would launch this application with the patient that's on the screen. So in this example here, Polly Smith, it passes the patient contacts, as we call it, to the smart app, and then the smart app is able to display the same information with additional data for that particular patient. Now, what's the overall value of Halo? So these are the main personas or stakeholders for the Halo framework. So in terms of clinicians, it's providing that integrated workflow. It provides access to approved digital health tools directly in the EMR, and it reduces manual efforts that the physician would have to do in order to launch these external applications. For the jurisdiction, it provides that one framework that can help many use cases. It scales that digital health consistently. You can just say, this is the framework that we should be using. As long as you support this framework, any application can be integrated into this system. Because it is standard and it is one framework and it is flexible in how it actually uses the specifications underneath, it provides that faster time to market because it provides this plug-and-play interface. For vendors, it gives them the opportunities. If they implement Halo in one province, it's very likely that they're going to be able to use their integration in other provinces with very small changes, such as pointing to a different making sure that their applications are in the app catalog and so on. It gives them a lower effort to meet jurisdictional requirements by removing some of those barriers to entry. For patient, it's really the connected care. It's a more accurate, complete view of patient history. And it provides a much better experience because it's faster, more efficient service delivery. Now, so far, I have talked about the application level, so how Halo enables or provides this plugin framework integration. But another important part of Halo is really the data level integration or the contract that is agreed upon between the different applications and the EMR. So here's where we introduce CA Core. So CA Core is a common reusable use case agnostic foundation. This is the data foundation that's built on top of the Pan-Canadian Health Data Content Framework and the Canadian data for the Canadian data core data for interoperability. So Halo ensures that there's structural consistency and semantic alignment on that data. It provides support for multiple product lines, such as the Pan-Canadian specifications, as well as even for Reconsult, and certainly the original specifications that each province may have created based on those Pan-Canadian use cases. The idea with CA Core is really they implement it once and it reused across implementations by layering products on top of it. I'll explain with the image on the right side. It supports Halo applications built against those product implementation guides. So CA Core provides the foundational data sets that can be exchanged between these systems. So that's the lower level. The Pan-Canadian specifications, such as patient summary and refer, are built on top of it, and they inherit the basic foundation from CA Core. And these applications smart applications that could be used with Halo would be built on top of this data as well. So you can see that by having this common data framework and the data foundation underneath, that it's very consistent how systems interact and exchange data because they're all talking about they're using the same language, they're using the same FHIR elements or building blocks, and Halo provides the infrastructure on how to actually exchange this information. Now, moving into CA Core, let's talk a little bit about what is CA Core. In the slide, the former slide, I talked about the foundational FHIR profiles. It is really it's a way for us to standardize data exchange while also harmonizing existing data. So we worked across the Pan-Canadian space to understand what data was being exchanged within each province and territory, and we harmonized that data within CA Core. It aligns with HIE's the data framework. So you heard yesterday about the work that HIE is doing. We work very closely with them. So it does align with the Pan-Canadian Health Data Content Framework, and it's subset the Canadian Core Data for Interoperability, CDI. It is use case agnostic, so it is common across all the use cases. And it does use HL7 Fire R4, which is the most common version of Fire being used across Canada. Now, we developed CACOR based on a few principles or guidelines. And these were the 5 principles that we developed CACOR on. So it has to be reusable. These Fire profiles have to be reusable. They have to be already being exchanged within the Pan-Canadian space by vendors, as to minimizing any impact on jurisdictions and vendors today. We will continue and we will always work with them to move them forward, but we want to make sure that we develop here is not breaking existing integrations. It is use case agnostic, as discussed before. It is comprehensive. It is looking at the exchange of data across the Pan-Canadian space, but it's also looking forward and by working with HIE to understand what's coming next. It is practical. It is developed in a way that provides this foundational set of profiles. Then the Pan-Canadian use case specifications like patient summary and the referral can build on top of it, and the jurisdictional specifications can build on top of it. So it's flexible that way. And it is conformance testable. Everything that we do, we need to make sure that it's conformance testable so that we can verify when vendors and PTs are adopting it, that their adoption complies with Pan-Canadian specifications. Now let's discuss a little bit of progression with CACOR. So when we started CACOR last year, we had 3 provinces that were willing to work with us or put their foot forward to work with us to develop CACOR. So these were British Columbia, Alberta, and Ontario. And out of the 3 provinces, as well as the Pan-Canadian specifications, we identified 27 specifications. Across these 27 specifications, there were 36 different profiles for a patient, so how a patient is defined. There are 37 different practitioner profiles, as well as 29 different organizational profiles. There were thousands of data elements that had to be analyzed. So we developed tooling to help us analyze all this data. Part of this work, we did what we call the gap analysis. So we developed these guiding principles that I reviewed. We developed a framework on how we would profile these resources, make sure that they are harmonized. We provided stakeholder training because we were working with a number of different stakeholders on how to look at this data, how to understand it, how to provide this guidance. And at the end of the day, we reviewed this data with them, and then we developed a framework on how we would align with all the results, and we harmonized this data. So what we have today in the latest version of the CACOR is really, we harmonized the profiles across these 27 specifications from the 3 PTs, as well as the specifications developed by Canada Health Infoway. Once we did this harmonization, we came up with 33 different building blocks or resources profiles data domains, so patient, practitioner, organization, etc. They align to Pan-Canadian standards, so they are aligned to patient summary and a referral consult. They have been mapped to CACDI, so there is a clear mapping between the data that's in CACOR and the data that's in the data framework. And we have a good understanding of and visibility to the original differences. If there are any differences between CACOR and what's being developed within each jurisdiction, we have that visibility because we've created the tooling behind it. Now, what's coming next is really its alignment. CACOR isn't the first core that's being developed. There is US core, there is the Australian core, and others. So we want to really work across the globe to understand and to align with those cores. We are also developing a common way of an intake process on how we can get feedback and evolve the specification moving forward. And we've also been working with HIE on how we can align our releases. Okay. So now, this is all the process side. So here's what we are today. So what we have is a seamless data. What we have in CA Core is really a seamless data exchange. It enables consistent, reliable data flow across systems to support coordinated care. It provides better outcomes and greater efficiency. And the idea here is really to improve care quality and reduce inefficiencies. It provides jurisdictional agility, as I mentioned before. It supports those local needs by layering the different specifications one on top of the other. It provides supports innovation at scale. It unlocks data, especially in the world of data today, where we can accelerate analytics, we provide new care models, and personalize personalized health. It also provides that faster vendor adoption. Now, CA Core is comprehensive for all stakeholders. I'm not going through every single one of them, but overall for everyone, we created this collaborative governance and decision-making for development of CA Core, and provided jurisdictions and the vendor community the opportunity to be part of the design as well as help us prioritize the work. For provinces and territories, it's really that collaboration across the entire product lifecycle, not just the technical details of the specification, but the ability to help us really govern the specification, to understand release, and to provide vendors with that information. And for vendors, certainly we provide a common set of profiles they can implement once and support many uses across jurisdictions, and provided the standard release cycles to help vendors plan their roadmaps. So they know exactly when these releases are coming, and they can plan their own roadmap around our release schedule as well. So in summary, HALO is really, it's the health application layer protocol. It delivers value by standardizing how apps integrate and run clinical workflows, by reducing custom integrations and reducing clinical administration. And CA Core delivers value by truly standardizing the data layer. It really helps. We're working with HIE defines what that data means, what a patient is, what immunization really means, and how it's actually structured. Okay. So I'll pass it to Sonia, who discuss patient summary and some of the results from Project.com. Sonia?
Thanks, Alex. Next slide. Perfect. Okay. Before we get into the definition of a patient summary, I always like to talk about, I always like to start with a scenario that I think many people can relate with. So picture this, you wake up one morning, you're feeling sick, you call your family doctor's office, but you're fully booked. They tell you to head to a walk-in clinic, so you go. So now you find yourself seated across a provider who has never met you. They don't know your history, your medications, or your allergies. So they start asking questions, a lot of them. But of course, you're not feeling well, you're tired, and maybe even in pain. And the last thing you want to do is mentally scroll through every medication, allergy, or recent tests you've done. And you might end up forgetting something as well. And they might miss a critical allergy or a dangerous drug interaction. It's frustrating and it could be potentially dangerous. This is a real problem we face today, because healthcare information exists in silos. Your information is scattered and health record systems don't talk to each other. And so that's the whole point or goal of our interoperability specifications. So if we think about it, what if your key health information could travel with you? Or what if a healthcare provider could simply request that a summary of your health information be created on demand? That could make all the difference. And again, this is where interoperability specifications come in, and this is where the patient summary plays a huge role. A patient summary is really a concise snapshot of the most important information about a person's health, about your health. It gives clinicians the information they need to make safe clinical decisions. The goal is to support safe, timely care in situations where a provider may not know the patient, or in situations where information simply isn't easily accessible. Next slide, please. So the next thing is, what exactly is in a patient summary? And what does it look like? Think of it in two parts. So the first part is a header. That's the blue section on the slide, left-hand side. The header contains information about who is the patient, who created the patient summary, who's accountable for its accuracy, things like that. Then there's the clinical content, which is organized in sections. So the colorful section of the slide. You have required sections in red, and these are the must-have data domains. Every patient summary at a minimum must include a medication summary, allergies and intolerances, and a problem list. The next sections are recommended sections in yellow, which are strongly encouraged. Then you have optional sections that add value to the patient summary. Because they're optional sections, do not make them any less important. Next slide, please. The patient summary is really a global movement. So if we think about the slide we just saw and the different data domains, Canada did not come up with those data domains on its own. The patient summary is really a global movement, and Canada is right in the middle of it. Multiple countries have partnered to develop the international patient summary. Canada collaborates through the Global Digital Health Partnership, sharing what we've learned in Canada and also learning from others. And Canada actually co-chairs the interoperability stream of that partnership. We also contribute to major standards organizations, just like it was mentioned earlier. We contribute to major standard organizations like HS7, ISO, and SNOMED. Next. And this global effort matters because the goal of the patient summary is continuity of care across borders, across every level. The patient summary is designed to move with you, no matter where you need care. It helps during unexpected visits like urgent care. It bridges the gaps during transitions like being discharged from the hospital to receiving care in the community. And it supports shared care between specialists and family doctors. Next, please. Now, different parts of the healthcare ecosystem will benefit from access to patient healthcare data. Overall, the goal is, continuity of care, safe care. But this slide breaks down benefits per stakeholder. For clinicians, the patient summary provides quick access to key health information. This means less time chasing down records, faster, more informed decision making. It prevents redundant tests and unnecessary procedures. For patients, it promotes continuity and safety. It empowers the patient and it reduces repetition. For the broader health system, the patient summary supports interoperability, efficiency, and safety at scale. Next, please. We've talked about what the patient summary is and why it matters. Now, I want to lift the hood a little and show you how it gets built, because this is where the health informatics work truly lives. At Canada Health Infoway, we adopted the International Patient Summary, and then we worked with clinical, technical, and jurisdictional partners across the country to add Canadian-specific requirements that reflect our unique healthcare context. And from that work, we developed the Pan-Canadian Patient Summary Specifications, or PSE for short. Our development follows an internationally recognized four-step approach. So we started by defining the problem, brought together again stakeholders from across the country to identify real world needs and use cases for the patient summary and defining what sharing a patient summary should look like in practice. Then we built the specification. These real world needs were translated, or because it's ongoing, we keep on translating, we identify the needs and then we keep on translating it into the implementation guide, which is really the technical blueprint that tells vendors exactly how to structure, code, and exchange a patient summary. So after building the specifications, vendors take the guide, they build it into their health IT system. So think about the electronic medical records used in the hospitals and clinics, the patient portals that some hospitals provide, or the health apps we use on you can find on our mobile devices. After it's built, we host testing events that allow vendors the opportunity to come together to test their solutions and learn from each other. Next, please. This slide shows at the start, in the previous slide, I mentioned the collaborative work we do at InfoWay with Canadian jurisdictions. In addition to the Canadian jurisdictions, we work pretty close to the IPS, of course, and we strive to maintain alignment with the IPS, keeping in mind, again, that some national context is required. For example, we have some unique terminology requirements like our national vaccine catalog or the SNOMED C edition. So this slide shows that collaborative work between the IPS, PSC, and the Canadian jurisdictions. At the right-hand side of the chart or the figure on the slide, the last column on the chart shows the data domains that are present or part of the most recent version of the PSC specification and the IPS. The cell in that column without a check mark shows the data domain, which is not yet in the PSC, but it is in our roadmap. The prioritization of data domains for inclusion in the PSC is based on the interest and priorities of Canadian jurisdictions. In the middle of the chart, at the center, are the provinces we have been working with. The gray boxes there represent the data domains of interest to our provinces for their limited production rollouts. We work with our stakeholders via a national patient summary working group where we address implementation challenges, we review specification feedback, and vote on challenges and priorities for the patient summary. Next, please. Now, all this work is brought together in a single guide, the PSC implementation guide. The implementation guide includes use cases, so where the patient summary can be used, includes data domains. So think about the content of the patient summary, which we spoke about a few minutes earlier. Allergies, intolerances, immunization, problem list, all those things are part of the data domains. And then we have requirements for the solutions that are built, and of course, exchange patterns. How do you exchange the patient summary? This guide basically gives vendors clear instructions on what data to include, how to structure it, and how to exchange it using the FHIE standards. It really helps ensure that every solution built is speaking the same language. Next slide, please. I have here a snapshot of what the guide actually looks like. It's publicly available and includes everything a vendor or developer needs, business context, technical implementation details, FHIE artifacts for each data domain, and a change log tracking how the spec has evolved. Again, the IG or implementation guide is really the blueprint. However, building the spec is only half of the story, but the other half, which is really important, is proving that the specifications work. Next slide, please. So once vendors build their solutions, and we need to prove that it works, so we test them together at events called projectathons or connectathons. Think of this as live stress tests for interoperabilities. For interoperability, systems go head to head to prove that they can actually talk to each other. For PSCA, we typically focus on two things during testing. First, document format and content. Is the summary structured correctly? Does it have all the required data using the right data types and value sets? Secondly, we look at secure exchange. Can the summary be safely shared between systems following the methods defined in the implementation guide? These events are actually really incredible. We'll talk about them more in a bit. And vendors typically leave with better tools, deeper understanding, and real evidence that their solutions work. Next slide, please. Okay, now that we've built the spec and we've tested it, let's talk about who's actually using it and how. Across the jurisdictions in Canada, we've been working with, two distinct approaches to implementations have emerged, and both of them are equally important. The first is patient-mediated. In this model, you or the patient is in control. You initiate access to your own patient summary. You decide who sees it, whether a clinician, family member, or a caregiver. This model is especially valuable in those walk-in clinic moments, during travel, or anytime you're seeking care outside your usual provider relationship. The second approach we're seeing is provider mediated. The process here is initiated by a healthcare provider. They create access or share the patient summary as part of delivering care. They may also pass it along to another provider to support coordination, transitions of care, or emergency situations where quick access to accurate information is critical. These two models work together to support a more consistent connected care across different settings and jurisdictions. Next, please. This slide provides more detail on the creation of a provider-mediated summary. Very quickly, it starts with the healthcare provider triggering the creation of a patient summary either manually or automatically, by pulling data from their EMR or any relevant available data sources. The summary is then submitted to a central repository or sent directly to the receiving provider and made available to other authorized clinicians and optionally to the patient through a portal. If you want to see or understand the details of this use case, what happens in the background, please follow the links that are provided on the slide to access the implementation guide. Next, please. Okay. On this slide, you'll see exactly how the patient-mediated flow works in real life. And so a patient opens their health app, for example, and requests for their patient summary to be created. A QR code is generated and they simply present it at their appointment. So I'd like us to use a few seconds to please scan. If you're interested in seeing what a patient summary looks like, please scan the QR code on your screen. And the first thing you'll see is a security or privacy notice of which you will need to accept. And then the next step, you'll need to enter the PIN, which is 123456. I hope it's legible enough on the screen. So the PIN is 123456, and then the patient summary is displayed. This specific patient summary is an implementation from New Brunswick, and currently they have 5 data domains: allergies and intolerances, medication summary, immunization, lab results, and imaging reports. I hope everyone has gotten a chance to scan the code. Okay, so pretty easy. That's it. There's no fax machines, no phone calls, chasing records, just your health information in your hand shared on your terms. So if we think about this scenario at the beginning of this presentation, if a patient had this, they'll walk into the clinic and just show the QR code, get a scan, and a healthcare provider can access all of their information. Nova Scotia has a pretty similar implementation to what New Brunswick has done. Just they've added several other data domains. And it's also public if you're interested. I think I have a link somewhere within the slides to access the implementation as well. Next slide, please. Now, what you're seeing here is the current landscape of patient summary activities across the country. The stars represent provinces and jurisdictions that are at different stages of implementing the patient summary, either in a patient-mediated model or a provider-mediated model, or both actually. The green stars show where patient-mediated implementations are already live or actively on the way, and the lighter green stars indicate where planning is still in progress. The red stars show the same for the provider-mediated implementations. Just to highlight a few, in British Columbia, the provider-mediated approach is underway with patient access discussions beginning. Alberta has implemented both approaches, is pursuing both approaches. Ontario has a limited production rollout of the provider-mediated patient summary, and their next steps are still to be determined. Interestingly, Saskatchewan and Manitoba many years ago both saw the value of the patient summary, even before major work on IPS and the PSCA began. So both provinces have implementations very similar to the PSCA, and they have plans to migrate to full PSCA alignment as they evolve their systems. What this map really tells me is that the patient summary isn't a future initiative. It's active and it's happening right now. Next slide, please. So, in conclusion, a patient summary journey in Canada is still in relatively early days, as it is globally. A focus for the next fiscal year will be to strengthen stakeholder engagement, growth and expansion of the new and existing implementations, expansion of use cases with innovative technologies such as AI, which is doing a lot of great work across the healthcare system. Continue to work with and learn from our vendor partnership programs. And globally, we'll continue to collaborate with the IPS to ensure that we share best practices and we learn from the best practices of other countries. And next slide. Okay, and here I just have a few helpful links, links to the patient summary guide and the patient summary working group. Next slide, please. Okay. The Pan-Canadian Projectathon. So if you're wondering exactly what the Pan-Canadian Projectathon is, or what a Projectathon is, it's really just a collaborative, interactive testing event where participants test real-world interoperability using our specifications. The goal is to validate the correctness of our specifications, real-world workflows, as well as cross-system integrations, while also serving as an early stage for readiness testing. We typically see vendors and jurisdictions. So by vendors, again, I mean people or companies typically will build their health IT systems, the EMRs and stuff like that. And then you have jurisdictions that are interested in implementing the solutions. And testing is typically done through either peer-to-peer. This is a scenario where vendors get paired with other vendors to exchange things like the patient summary or an e-referral, just to really understand, can two systems talk to each other? And they typically test end-to-end workflows, which are scenario-based. Again, it's an excellent opportunity. It offers education, an opportunity for collaboration and for expert support. Next slide, please. So at the last projectathon, the 2026 projectathon, which took place earlier this year in February, it was a virtual event. We had the opportunity to host 16 organizations who brought 18 systems, tested 10 specifications, and who had 26 monitors present to support them, answer questions for education and for education purposes. And if you look at the slide, the vendors listed there really shows a cross-section or a very good representation of the healthcare IT community across Canada. So I think at least each province in Canada was represented in some way at the event. Overall, we saw 297 tests completed with a passing rate of 270, and we had 16 partial passes. So for one reason or the other, the vendor was unable to complete their test. And for not completed tests, we had just 11. And again, probably because of some technical issues, they were unable to get everything done. Next slide. And so through the projectathon, we were able to identify the following. We're able to validate interoperability. This was a confirmation for us that our specifications truly work, that these specifications can truly solve issues within the healthcare system in Canada. It also helped the vendors to identify and resolve issues earlier in their development process. So it basically increased deployment readiness. So they were able to identify issues and fix it before production, where fixing or changing things might have been more difficult. It was also an opportunity to strengthen collaboration amongst vendors and jurisdictions. It's not very often that the community has an opportunity to come together and test the solutions they've been building. I mean, it might seem like it's not much, but if we think about 16 organizations coming with 18 systems, all built by 18 different people, and having those 18 systems all talk to each other successfully, it's not easy. It's been a lot of work behind the scenes, and so it is truly meaningful. And it shows the value of the work Canada Health Infoway has been doing. And also, this event helped us to identify opportunities, of course, for improvement to our specifications, our tools, and our support processes. Next slide, please. So what's next for the projectathon? After the projectathon, we worked with vendors, reviewed the projectathon feedback, and we are applying the lessons learned and updating our specifications accordingly. And of course, each projectathon sets the stage for future projectathons or events and how to improve the standards we are developing. And I think, next slide, please. It should be it. Okay. I think that's it for the projectathon. Thanks, Alex. Linda, over to you.
Wonderful, thank you. I'll just grab the screen back. So, thank you so much, Sonia and Alex.